Hey, health coaches, it's Carmen. So today I want to talk about the subject of childhood trauma. And so this is something that has been really high on my radar for the last couple of years, but really have only been bringing it to the coach's attention for, I would say, the last year or so, maybe a little bit longer, about how important it is to consider this as a foundational reason that your clients are not healthy or well. So I kind of feel like this is going to be one of those things that I add into the 5 foundations of health and make it a 6th foundation of health, is exploring ourselves, having our clients explore their lives and see what part trauma is playing in the status of their health today. And the reason why I think it's so powerful and so important is because not only have I explored my own history of trauma in my life and what part it's playing in my health and my relationships today, but I've seen it over and over and over again with my clients. It's one of the reasons I like to do the deep dives in my intake form. So, some people have been given a health history from some of our schools, maybe a short form on getting to know your clients. I'm not a believer in that, even though we're not doctors and we're not psychologists, we're not social workers or practitioners of any kind. It's important for us to have a really deep dive intake form so that we can get the story of the clients that we're going to be working with. It really helps us to not have to ask the hard questions verbally because they're in writing on the intake form. And on that intake form, there's a nice section in there that talks a little bit about emotional health and mental stability and things like that. Is there someone in their life that's sabotaging their efforts? These are important pieces to know, not because we're going to act like counselors and psychologists, but because we're going to help them navigate through some of the things maybe they have not thought about that are keeping them unwell. And trauma is one of the biggest reasons that people have addictions, depression, weight problems, autoimmunity, cancer, all of those things. It's one of the biggest reasons that people are not well. And so to leave trauma out of this equation, to me, is irresponsible. As a health coach, I want to bring more awareness to the idea that childhood traumas have played a really big piece in why people are sick today. Yes, there's gluten, there's GMOs, there's soy, there's toxic environmental stress. But you can clean all of those things up and someone could be living a super clean life. They've got their food dialed in. Maybe they've taken all the environmental toxins out of their home. They don't even have carpet in their house anymore, and their yard doesn't get sprayed. Like, all of those things could be in line. That person still isn't well. And then you address their parasites and gut health, and you get all of those things straightened out, and they're still not well. And the endocrine system looks balanced, and labs come back normal, and they're still not well. So where do you go from there? Let's just assume that all of those things, which I believe are checklists, and they're very important, let's assume all of those things check out, and we've gone through the list, and we're like, you're moving your body in a safe way, check. You're eating whole food, check. Your relationships with your spouse is great, check. Your finances are in order. What's left? Why aren't you well? Why do you still feel body pain all over? Why do you still have depression? Why can't you lose those last, 10 pounds? The only explanation that really exists for this, in my opinion, is trauma, because trauma creates stress in the body, stress in the mind, stress in the cells. So we have to, we don't have to, but I believe that we have an obligation to learn more about childhood trauma as it applies to health as a whole, to be able to bring this idea to our clients that perhaps there's something untapped inside of you that we haven't reached in and put our finger on yet, right? And of course, we act as health coaches delivering this information in a safe way. And we are, my belief in my scope of profession that I created, not uncomfortable with referring people out to places to get help for those things. And I'll go into more about that stuff later on. But I want you to consider the idea that childhood trauma needs to be a part of the foundations of health, and look for some of my stuff to start changing and shifting to include the 6 foundations of health instead of the 5. So my 5 foundations of health that I teach coaches how to help their clients on, as a reminder, are fun, safe movement, how we see stress, what we're eating, and how much we're sleeping. And I'm going to throw that 6th one in there. I'm just got to make some changes to my my templates and all the things that I do. It's going to take some time, but 6 is understanding trauma. So anyway, I hope that was helpful for you guys. And you know what? This is also a little nudge for you to take a look at your own self and your unfinished business inside of you in your life that might be causing physical, mental, emotional, any kind of stress. And as Gabor Mate says, think about a rash. Someone who's dealing with an ongoing rash all the time. A rash is considered by the medical world an eruption, if you've ever read a diagnosis. So an eruption is more than likely anger that's kept inside, and it has no way. It's maybe someone hasn't been able to express themselves properly, or they've got pent up anger, and the only way that the body knows how to speak to you is through a rash. So that's just one example of how trauma can live in your body without you even having any idea. Okay, so don't discount it. Look into it. Elevate yourself as a coach. And really look into other things, you guys, besides just the basics, right? All right, have a great day.